Alright guys, so in keeping with our theme this week of our 5 favorite things, I am going to show you my 5 favorite tools that I'm currently loving. Alright guys, so before we get into my 5 favorites, I want to talk about an oldie but goodie, and that is my Ryobi battery powered lawnmower. As you guys may know, I purchased this lawnmower about a year ago, year and a half. And I know some of you are wondering, how well did it perform? You might recall I made the switch from a traditional gas powered mower to this battery powered mower. And battery powered mowers have been around for a few years, but a lot of us haven't adopted them yet. And I was somewhat skeptical. I've only ever used gas, but I've got to say I've been really pleased with the performance of this motor after using it through the spring and summer for about a year here. I've used it to cut the grass. I've used it to mulch leaves. So I would definitely recommend the Ryobi brand as a great electric battery powered mower. So again, the lawnmower is an oldie but goodie. I've had that for about a year or so now. It's working great. Now in terms of new favorites, my first new favorite is this Ryobi weed whacker. And I want to say too, buying the Ryobi lawnmower has really led me to buy a lot more Ryobi products. I was all Black & Decker, but Black & Decker has kind of fallen off over the years, so I've kind of switched out a lot of my brands. So Ryobi is one of my new favorite tool brands. I found their stuff to be very modern, very excellent quality. And what I like about this weed whacker, and I'll show you the battery system here in just a minute, it uses the same battery as the lawnmower. So this weed whacker is my first favorite for my new tools. So my second favorite is this Ryobi powered leaf blower. So again, just like the weed whacker and the lawnmower, it works on the same battery system, large 40-volt battery. And when I bought the lawnmower, it actually came with the battery. But when I bought the weed whacker and the blower, they also came with batteries. So that was a good way to build up my battery collection. These batteries are not cheap. They will cost you around $80 to $100 each. So when you get a battery, if you can get an accessory with it, that will help you build up your collection. But again, I wanted to go all electric, and this was a great choice. It's very powerful. It's as powerful as some of your gas powered blowers. As a matter of fact, we'll go ahead and pop the battery in and blow around a couple of leaves. So really easy to operate. Just take the battery, slide it in, and you're ready to go. And by the way, when I bought this, it was pretty much fully assembled. The only thing I had to add on here was this little cone here on the blower, but it came fully assembled. And again, it's a very powerful blower. So let's jump into my number 3, but before we do that, let me just review. We had an oldie but goodie, which was my battery powered Ryobi lawnmower. And then my number 1 and number 2 was a Ryobi weed whacker and a Ryobi leaf blower. But the lawnmower, the weed whacker, and the leaf blower all use the same battery system. Now for my number 3 and 4, we're actually going to change the category a little bit. We're going to move from lawn tools to saws. So my number 3 is this Ryobi miter saw. That's right. So this is the Ryobi miter saw. We're going to talk about this in a little bit. And at the same time, we're going to talk about my number 4, which is a Works brand table saw. All right. So 2 different saws. One's Ryobi, one is Works. Let's talk about these saws and why I have the 2 different saws and the different brands. So again, I'm loving Ryobi products. Ryobi, I found it to be a great brand. I'm also loving the Works brand products. Now this says Rockwell, but it's made by Works. It's the same company. Works is spelled W-O-R-X. So you'll see Works products, you'll see Ryobi products, but these are my 2 new favorite brands since I've no longer buying Black & Decker tools. Now on the surface, these saws may look the same, but they do serve different purposes. There are some overlapping things you can do with them, but they do serve different purposes. The miter saw is good for using kind of detailed cuts on wood trim work. So when I grab a piece of trim, sometimes it's as simple as putting your trim up against the edge here and just cutting kind of in a straight line, right? Or sometimes I might need to cut the trim at a 45-degree angle. Sometimes you need to cut the trim this way, and sometimes you need to cut the trim at a 45-degree angle this way. So again, with the miter saw, it's good for pieces of trim work like this. And trim work might be planks on your floor, it might be trim work around a window, it might be molding, but any type of small woodwork like this, small pieces. My number 3 item was the Ryobi miter saw. My number 4 is the Works table saw. The difference between a table saw and a miter saw, a table saw is really good for large pieces of wood like this, right? Because you just push the wood across the table and you're basically cutting it into smaller pieces. And a lot of times you use both, right? You might use the table saw to break the wood down into smaller pieces, and then you might use the miter saw to do more detailed cuts. Both of these saws were around $125. You can get an entry-level table saw, miter saw for around $125, $150, no problem. And for those of us that are weekend warriors, these should be fine. So my number 5 and final favorite are these aluminum sawhorses. Sawhorses are great for projects like this where you need to set up saws, and sometimes even if you're doing like crafting, right, and you don't have a good workspace to do your crafting, you need to paint something or do some crafting or cut something. Sawhorses are really inexpensive. I think these were maybe $20 each. Get 2 sawhorses, get a scrap piece of wood to lay across. And again, this is a great place to come outside and do crafting work, maybe some messy painting or drilling or sawing. So inexpensive sawhorses are my number 5 favorite.